Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Unity Church. My name is Reverend Shay McKay. I am one of the ministers here at the church, and I welcome you this morning to share in our remembrance and celebration of Carolyn Betts Beebe Burr, whichever name you may have known her by or will remember her by. I'm going to invite you all to please read aloud with me the words that are printed in your order of worship for the chalice lighting. These are standard words that we use here at Unity in our religious education program and in other times when we light our chalice, which is a symbol of the gathering community, a symbol of our faith, our love, and our search for truth. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. Thank you. Now is the time for us to be here together in our sorrow and our grief, and in our joy at remembering a beautiful life. Someday later, a week from now, or a month, or even a year, you will find that your grief may have lessened, that any regret may have faded, and that memories are holding you strong. In some moments, you will remember Carolyn, and a smile will come to your face. Some moments you may be overwhelmed with sadness without even realizing why. There will be memories that bring you comfort and some that don't. Because it is difficult to lose a person that we have loved. We become aware of an absence, a space in our lives, in the world, that no longer is filled with an energy that we had come to love and appreciate. Our grief, in whatever way we feel it and express it, can be both a tool of remembrance in helping us call up what we loved and treasured about Carolyn, but it is also a process to help us let go. It is also a way that we can slowly become familiar with how to live with the loss of someone that we have loved. There is no right way to grieve. Don't let the experts on the internet tell you otherwise. Everyone must find their own way. And though we each do seek our own way and express our grief in different ways, we also, each of us, need to come together into community. We need to return to our friends and our families in our time of grief so that we can find nourishment and strength there. And so today we gather here together in the center of this community to hold the family in their loss, in their grief, and to be reminded and remind each other of the preciousness of life. Let us remember that we are not isolated beings, but we are connected in mystery, in miracle, to the universe, to the Spirit, to each other, and to Carolyn Betts Beebe Burr. So I welcome you into this place, into this space, each of you. Whatever you may need from this moment, whatever you may be feeling in this time together, you are welcome here. Taylor.
Morning, everyone. Just want to thank everyone for coming out, and then there are other people, as this is live streamed. As every people may know or not know, my mother was born in North Carolina, so we have a full North Carolina contingency of her age-old friends and my father and my stepmother and just lots of folks in North Carolina, New York, and here in the Twin Cities mainly. Other people in other places. We also have neighbors who may be seeing this now or later as far as South Africa. So, and just a few things I was going to share about my mom. And they're a little impromptu. And if somebody gives me the heads up, actually, if you would, in about 3 minutes, I'd appreciate it because my timer is over there. So, so first of all, I'm writing in this book, right? My mother endlessly wrote in books. She wrote her books, and they started all this way. So when I was growing up, there were piles of spiral books that sat, and I watched her in her process, her creative process, as she wrote, and she kind of came with things and brought them together. And literally, she would sit there and hand-type novels, and it was so amazing to me. She was up at 7:30 in the morning, pounding away on her novels, like this was her job. This was what she was there to do. And kind of witnessing that process was just such an amazing thing as a youth. And then to actually have that turn into something that was published, right? Which for my mother was amazing, right? For anyone, it's amazing. So I wrote a couple things just about her. One is that she was a fierce person. She was fierce about creativity. She was fierce about her family. She was also a visionary. So make no mistake, my mother saw things others didn't. She was creative. She lived beyond, in some way, most of us would see. In other worlds, she loved astrology. She loved tarot cards. She loved I Ching. She loved her family, her friends. She spoke to me about them all the time. Everyone here, she's spoken to me about you endlessly. I can just tell you. She also was an undiscovered talent in some respects. She had so much more than she was ever able to do, and she kind of had a small piece that was kind of gone there. She was really smart, and I think people know that. She didn't complain. That was an odd thing about my mother. She just didn't. And it wasn't that she was holding back loads of complaints. She just didn't have that many to go with. And if she had something to say, she'd let you know. She's not going to complain about it. She's just going to let you know. She also taught me how to be compassionate with myself and being compassionate with others. That was a learning I got. And the last thing I'd say about her was that people often underestimated my mother, right? You look at her, and maybe because she was a woman initially, maybe because she was in a wheelchair the last X number of years of her life, and she talked slowly, right? And people would start talking very slowly to her. And then she'd start bringing some things up, and they were like, okay, we'll speed up the you know exactly what you're saying. And I guess what I'd say is that she had to pick and choose what she was going to do in her life. She had loads of ideas and concepts and creative energy, and she did her piece. And her word in her last months was that enough. She had done enough. She had written enough. She had loved enough. And she let me know it was time for her to go before it started, and that she was in that place. So. The thing about my mom is that we sang in our family. So she's from North Carolina. She loved hymns. She loved classical music. She loved all kinds of music, but kind of that North Carolina, the hymns and all those kind of things. And she'd bring stuff up with me and introduce songs for me to sing. This is one of them she brought up really early. I had no idea what it was. And there's just lots of them that I play that kind of came from her. Okay. shall we gather at the river, where bright angel feet have trod. With its crystal tide forever, flown by the throne of God. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. On the margin of the river, washing up its silver spray, we will talk, worship ever, all the happy golden days. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. On the margin of the river, washing up its silver spray, we will talk, worship ever, all the happy golden days. Oh yes, we'll gather at the river, beautiful, yeah, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. At the smiling river. Hold on 1 second. Soon we'll reach the shining river. Soon our pilgrimage will cease. Soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melodies of peace. Oh, yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. That flows by the throne of God.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caswell Burr, and I'm one of BB's grandsons, along with my brother Zach. To have known BB and to have been loved by BB were one and the same. The moment that you stepped into her apartment at 97 Langford, you realized that it was her space. What you also immediately realized is that it was your space too. And if you didn't feel it immediately, BB was sure to help you get there, and really quickly. Here's what a typical BB visit looked like for me. I grabbed the keys from under the bell by her door. If you knew where these keys were, you were part of the BB club. And I would proceed to open her front door. And I would close the door, peek around the corner, and see BB watching her YouTube video on her iPad with her giant headphones on. And then came the scary part where I would try to get her attention. This is always the thriller of the coming over to BB's. I mean, I was always scared of just, scaring the living shit out of her. It's living daylights out of her. It's very, very scary. So sometimes you'd get lucky, and she would notice you pretty quickly and take her headphones off and say hi and welcome you in. But other times, it was tricky, and it would take what, felt like an hour to wave her down. And the moment you did, it would send this jolt throughout her entire body that I was always scared would give her like a heart attack or something, Just very, very scary. But that was kind of typically what happened. And then she would always invite me to sit on her couch in her kitchen, which was so cool to have a couch in the kitchen area. I think that's so awesome. And that's really where the magic happened with BB, was on that couch. The conversations that I had on that bench with my grandmother would consume me whole. Excuse me. She listened to me in a way that made me feel like I was the news. Front page, bold letters, and a big picture slapped down right in the middle that you couldn't look away from. BB showed me what conversation could be, how beautiful speaking, listening, and thinking in silence truly are. BB's presence demanded of you to dream out loud. She wasn't just interested in how I was. She was interested in how I've been, how I was, and who I aspired to be. Dreams are so much better when you talk about them, share them. My dreams became hers and hers mine. BB and I's love for each other was boundless, and it still is.
Hello, everyone. I'm Theo. I'm one of BB's granddaughters, and welcome. So it's very hard to describe what it's like being in the presence of my grandma. She had a way of being and living that was like none other person I've ever experienced before. Sorry, a little nervous. She always had a place for me at her house, and the comfort of being with her was incredible. Her warmth and laughter always made me feel safe at her home. It was really nice. When Bibi moved to Minnesota, I started going to her house every day after school to have toast. She really liked toast. And that was where all the stories that she would tell me began, the early days of her stories. She would tell me stories of her childhood and her life before me, and I would listen with open ears. Over the next years, I'd be doing those exact same things with her in her home in Langford. Her stories taught me how to listen, one of the things I take with me everywhere I go. And at the same time, Bibi was an amazing listener. I could tell her basically anything, and she'd always make me feel heard. She was the most accepting person I've ever met. Bibi also valued quality time, like me. I remember all the projects I did with her, like making little story characters out of glue and paper, and working on my 5th grade history project, Clara Barton, made out of a juice jar. Bibi was always incredibly patient with me and was well determined to work on our projects together. She liked spending time with the people she loved, and she loved like no one else. Bibi taught me how to love with my whole heart and to hold the ones I love close to me. I will carry the gifts I learned from my grandma in my heart for the rest of my life.
Hi, I am Zach, and I am also Bibi's grandchild. I also started going over to Bibi's with Theo in grade school, about 4th grade, every day after school, and I'd go over and we'd have toast. And I experienced a lot of the same things that both my brother and my sister felt. This unbelievable capacity she had for all 3 of us, and this excitement she had about what we had to say. And in that excitement, I think I really started to find footing and find momentum for things that I don't think would have gotten to where they are without Bibi. I think a lot about who I am with clothing and who she was with clothing, and the way that she would ask me questions that would start that momentum and get me moving in these directions, and show up with TV shows that she wanted to watch with me, and just always encouraging and always fostering that creative potential that my dad talked about. She loved to see it in other people. And she had a way in which she asked questions that I couldn't really even begin to explain, but just that she was always a learner and always curious and just always there. And that's the way I want to show up in the world. I want to have capacity for others and being able to share in their joy and triumph. I think a lot of that connection is lost in whatever it is, the competitiveness of things. And there isn't moments where we just come together and celebrate things and have joyous and immense amount of energy for each other. And I just think it's a wonderful way to be in the world. And I'm really grateful for my grandmother and her being able to show me that and inspire that within me. So, yeah, I love BB more than anyone. And thank you.
Everybody. Hi, I'm Suzanne. I'm partner to Taylor and daughter-in-law to Betts. I'm mother to Kazak and Theo, and sister-in-law to Lizzie and Chris, and auntie to Emma and Maisie. Bibi and I shared love of many things, and I just named 90% of them, or 95 maybe. And also the moon and the stars, and the trees and the flowers, and beauty and art. I think the words that have been spoken so far encapsulate so much of what we all hold dear and what we learned from Bibi. And I'm going to read a poem for her. It's called Starlings in Winter by Mary Oliver. Excuse me, sorry. Chunky and noisy, but with stars in their black feathers, they spring from the telephone wire, and instantly they are acrobats in the freezing wind. And now, in the theater of air, they swing over buildings, dipping and rising. They float like one stippled star that opens, becomes for a moment fragmented, then closes again. And you watch. And you try, but you simply can't imagine how they do it. With no articulated instruction, no pause, only the silent confirmation that they are this notable thing, this wheel of many parts that can rise and spin over and over again, full of glorious life. Ah, world, what lessons you prepare for us. Even in this leafless winter, even in this ashy city, I am thinking now of grief and of getting past it. I feel my boots trying to leave the ground. I feel my heart pumping hard. I want to think again of dangerous and noble things. I want to be light and frolicsome. I want to be improbable, beautiful, and afraid of nothing, as though I had wings.
I'm Maisie. I'm one of the granddaughters. I'm Lizzie's younger daughter. Okay. I've been looking at the moon a lot lately to feel her. When my mom was young and away from home, Bibi would write to her in letters, "I'm looking at the same moon." So she would know her mother was always there with her, no matter where she was in the world. And when I was young and away from home, my mom told me the same thing. And I was a particularly fearful and homesick child, so I would often look to the sky. I'm looking at the same moon. I would think of my mom and her mom, and I would know they were there with me and that I was loved. And I would look when I was home too, because I didn't get to grow up down the street from Bibi. But I would look up in the night, and I would know she was looking at the same moon. Bibi really taught me how to look around. I think she saw from a young age that I was partial to looking, and she decided to help teach me how. We would go on walks in the heavy, sweet summer heat of Asheville and look at the world. She had such a sense of wonder. We would talk about the colors of the leaves and the houses or a woman's shirt passing by on the street. It was all about color, about finding and noticing and appreciating that richness, the beauty of the world around you. Or when she hated something, like the misplaced shade of blue on a door, she was always honest. So when she loved something, you knew she meant it. I think the greatest gift Bibi gave me was the way she saw me. She had this remarkable way of seeing people that so many people have mentioned here today. She saw us each individually, and she loved us each as our own. Bibi had a vision for each of the grandchildren. She always told me I was going to be an artist. She didn't know what I would do, but she knew I would make art. Like me, she would say. And for a kid who was incredibly anxious and afraid and felt like they were doing everything wrong, it was immensely powerful to hear that you are good at something, that you are meant to do it. It means the world. I moved to LA in October to pursue film, to be an artist. And in November, I came here. And I stayed in her apartment for a week and a half. And I looked at the colors she had surrounded herself with, the greens and the reds and the corals. She had found and made beauty. And I went from St. Paul to New York and back to LA and then to Austin. And everywhere I was, I looked at the moon. From her kitchen window, from Tompkins Square Park, from the Pacific Ocean, from my best friend's front yard. I looked at the moon and I felt her. And now I look around at this family she built. This family so full of warmth and creativity and so much love. And I feel so grateful to be here with you. Anyone who knew Bibi as a grandmother or a mother, and I'm sure as a friend, knows she loved to give out tasks. So I have a task for you. Look around at the moon, at the colors, and at each other. Look and love and wonder. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, or recognize me with my dad's white hair, I'm Lizzie Burr, AKA Carolyn, AKA Betts, AKA BB's daughter. I'd like to thank all of you who are here with us at Unity this December morning, or who are watching on YouTube right now, or maybe it's another time, another day. No matter when or where you are, I'm grateful to you for your love for my mother and my family. In my loss, I feel your loss as well, and I am sorry for it and share it with you. I'd like to imagine that by this time, many of you have read one of the several descriptions of my mother that I've written over the past few weeks. While, of course, there is something deeply sad about writing about your mother after she's died, to be honest, it's also been a strange joy. My mom was a remarkable, complex, dynamic person. The only way I could think to capture her was to make a list of the things she loved, and every list I've made has been incomplete. I forget things, or I had to leave them out because the list was getting too long. I left out Robert Altman movies. How could I leave out Robert Altman movies? Thank goodness for this chance to include them here. Robert Altman movies, check. This morning, I'd like to talk about one thing that's been on every list, music. But saying that my mom loved music isn't really saying anything. Yes, my mom loved music, but it's how she loved music, her very Betts Burr, no-holds-barred approach that I want to remember today. My mother fell in love with songs, deeply, passionately in love with songs, with a song. And that love was intense and all-encompassing. Once she loved a song, she always loved it. And if you were around her while she listened to one of those songs, you loved it too. Mainly because it was almost impossible to believe how much she loved that song. From the opening note, she threw her entire self into it. Full-on traditional clogging, which she learned in grade school in Bryson City, North Carolina, in our tiny kitchen on East 83rd Street to take a chance on me. She was a serious ABBA fan before it was cool. Blowing Kaz, Zach, and Theo's minds, as well as Suzanne's, the night she revealed her passion for Freddie Mercury to them and made us watch his performance of Barcelona on her antique PC 5 times in a row. Going to a record store in Paris and humming the tune of Ma Préférence, a lush pop ballad she'd fallen in love with because she couldn't really understand, let alone sing the words, so she could buy the album and take it home. Today, I want to tell you about one particular song my mother loved. Honestly, out of pride, I wish I could have picked another one, but I just couldn't. It's top 10 in any edition of BB's Greatest Hits. The main thing I remember about the summer of 1975 is the song "Love Will Keep Us Together" by the Captain and Tennille. I'm pretty sure that anyone who was alive in 1975 remembers that song. But being the song lover my mother was, this song became that summer. My mother always had the radio playing wherever she was, in the kitchen, in the car, in her bedroom. The second the captain's first funky chord hit her ears, she would yell, "Children, turn it on!" I would run to my room and crank up the new AM/FM clock radio I'd gotten for my birthday. Taylor would go to whatever radio, stereo, cassette player he was closest to, this was his earliest training in sound tech, and turn it up. And our little Revolutionary War-era house in Wacabuck would shake to that song. Our mother would do her clapping and singing, which really had something to a Southern revival about it. We danced in the kitchen, and we sang along. I'm not sure when I began to notice the confusion I felt about that song. Maybe it was there all along. Love Will Keep Us Together is about love working out, keeping us together, and my mom sang it at the top of her lungs. 1975 was a very hard year for me, for my mom, for my brother, and for my dad. My parents had separated the fall before, So it was our first summer as our little trio. And here was my beautiful mom singing this song with her whole heart, even though it did not seem like love was keeping us together. Some people have the gift of sight. They can see things, imagine them, and then somehow they happen. Usually, this happening requires two things: patience and hard work, and commitment, deep commitment to the thing you see. My mother was one of those people. At times, her vision made life difficult for her and for those around her. At times, it set her apart because even though she loved the pack, she could not run with it if she was going to stay true to herself and the things she saw. What that sight, her incredible imagination, always did was fuel her extraordinary creativity. My mother was imaginative in a way that most of us cannot understand, and it was like breathing for her, like swinging her arms while she walked. Day after day in the summer of 1975, my mother imagined us, Taylor, herself, and me, together, happy, okay. Every time we turned up those radios, she was getting us in on the plan. Love Will Keep Us Together was the song she sang to us at the hardest time we could imagine, and that song came true. Love kept us together. We were okay, way more than okay, for a very long time. There have been so many songs that have saved my life. I don't think I could make a list. But the first one, the most important one, wasn't my song, it was my mom's. And in her wild love for it, she was loving me and showing me what to do, how to live, how to survive, how to make things you imagine come true.
Hi, I'm Emma Berenger-Hyams, one of BB's granddaughters, and here with my dad, I'm going to be reading a poem that BB wrote about her dog, Berenger.
I'm Chris Hyams. I am, I guess I first knew her as Bets, but I can only think of her as BB now. BB's son-in-law. And you've heard from so many people about how fierce her love was, and one of the great fortunes of my life was to be loved by BB. And one of the things that she loved more than anything was words. Words were very important, so let's all hear some of BB's words now.
Berenger Buron Burr, the first elegy. To date, we have taken 16,972 walks. Filled with importance and intent, we toured the block nightly to make our area between 82nd and 83rd safe for democracy. As far as she knew, it was purely coincidental that in the course of our walk, she lifted her leg. Liberated children, finding squatting demeaning, taught her to pee like a man. She preferred a puddle or a paper bag, and once found a bag in a puddle. Bliss.
Is it not time that, in loving, we freed ourselves from the loved one and, quivering, endured?
Yes, Phil will dig a grave under her favorite bush in the backyard.
But lovers are taken back by exhausted nature into herself, as though such creative force could never be re-exerted.
When we move, she hides there, slyly ingratiating herself into the night. Forced to bark about her passions at 3, she blows her cover. I awake and bring her back inside.
But hark to the suspiration, the uninterrupted news that grows out of silence.
Yes, Dr. Taylor will come to the house any day during lunch. He put his own big dog down just 3 weeks ago. He understands.
For staying is nowhere.
Yes, this is the last 50-pound bag of dog food I will buy. How many boxes of bones will it take? How many cans of Cycle?
They've finally no more need of us, the early departed. One's gently weaned from terrestrial things as one mildly outgrows the breasts of a mother.
What kind of paint should this woman use to paint a tombstone for a dog? A dog? The dog. Use 3 coats of sealer to protect it from the rain. Blue, violet, white, silver, complement coat and tongue.
And to lay aside even one's proper name like a broken toy.
But what about the nose? Contemplate the nose. Form and function cleave in uxorious perfection, symmetrical ebony nostrils carved in China centuries ago. What about the nose? Morning oatmeal sounds like witch's stew. Rain hisses. Barry makes moist pants, lowers herself with breaking baby steps, places great gray mitts at appropriate angles. Pads peaceful, settled in body, she gazes, pivots, still a sentinel, though ears and eyes are plugged. Gladiolus tongue circles blue-black lips, a flash of gorgeous pink that cleans, wets, savors whatever it touches. On special occasions, she shares the tongue with me. Fluent, it speaks caves of comfort. Without language, it asks questions. To answer, the tongue in my heart strains loose from its frozen palate. Bent like a grandmother, even as a puppy, Earth's surface yields up to her an unending panoply of scents. Her life's work is to seek out carrion in Central Park, rancid liverwurst inside hardening rye fished from a greasy brown bag lodged in privet. Horse droppings, delicacy fresh from the beast, lure her to the bridle path, an after-dinner roll in the basin beneath the overpass. An antediluvian mixture of glittering black slag, shit, and swamp water coats her soft chinchilla hair. In the air, it hardens to asphalt.
Oh, and there's night. There's night. When wind, full of cosmic space, feeds on our faces.
Where's the dog? Shopkeepers ask when I go out alone. I am being monitored. I am part of someone's day. People tell time by me. Look forward to my passing. It is still a time when a dog can be tied up outside Gristides.
All of this was a trust, but were you equal to it?
Surprise. I didn't know anyone was watching. It is the same as when I get on the bus at 96th Street and pass my own stop. I look out on my corner, half expecting to see myself. I need to tell the stranger on the seat beside me that I would be entering the bus here at 84th Street, except for an anomaly. We are together on those streets. A beautiful dog, a woman. Beautiful because the dog has told her so.
There remains, perhaps, some tree on a slope to be looked at day after day. There remains for us yesterday a walk and the cupboard love loyalty of a habit that liked us and stayed and never gave notice.
Our bodies hold memories, like the pages of journals in which we write our stories and poetry. I invite you now to bring to mind one of those memories, a memory of Bibi, of Betts, that you hold dear in your heart, a memory that brings light to you. And then I invite you, if you so wish, to come forward and light a candle in honor of that memory of Carolyn, to honor her life and the light that she brought into so many lives. So as you feel called, we'll have the family come up first, and then you're welcome to come forward and light a candle. This is Carolyn's light. This is the light she brought to each of you and into this world. And this is what will keep her memory alive in you. These stories that you tell, the toast you eat, the times you sit in deep listening and silence and shared storytelling, the music that you share. This is where Carolyn lives and will continue to live. And this is how her light will continue to shine in this world, through you and through all that she gave to you and all that you continue to give to each other and to the world in her memory. I'll invite Taylor and Kaz now to share another song with us.
Again, just like to thank everyone for coming out. And, you know, I really, in terms of where people are joining us from, there's just everywhere. San Francisco, Washington, Chicago, all my family, extended family, who are with us here, right? And friends who are with us here right now. That's the one of the things, there are a few, that I can say has been powerful about the pandemic is the ability that we all join together, and our church here has that ability to share in our community. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I know the other last thing I'll say is we're going to have my mother loved a good party and celebration, right? She'd have been like, you know, this is a little down here. We need to pick this up, right? What I will say is we're going to have at our house, just for those of you who aren't here, it's maybe pushing 20 degrees today, right? It snowed last night, and what we're going to do is we're going to get together outside of our house, in the back of our house, and have a cup of chili and some cornbread, again, right up my mom's alley, and just have a little celebration time, play some music, enjoy, right? So please come on over, even if you only stay for 5 minutes because it's cold out. We'll have a fire, we'll have a little party. You know, Mom will be with us in spirit. And thank you for all of her neighbors and friends. You know, she just loved everybody, like I said.
Kiss me, mother, kiss your darling. Lay my head upon your breast. Throw your loving arms around me. I am weary, let me rest. Seems the light is swiftly fading. Brighter seems they do not show. I am standing by the river. Angels wait to take me home. breathe the pain upon my brow, while I'll soon be with the angels. Fate has doomed my future now. Through the years, you'll always love me, and your life you've tried to save. But now I shall slumber sweetly in a deep and lonely grave. Kiss me, mother, kiss your darling. Lay your head upon my breast. Throw your loving arms around me. I am weary, let me rest. I am weary, let me rest.
In the extinguishing the chalice with the words that are printed in the order of worship. Though we extinguish the light of the chalice here, we know that the light of truth and the warmth of love go with us in our hearts. Thank you. Thank you. In the words of poet John O'Donohue, when you lose someone you love, life becomes strange. So as you take the time to grieve both your loss and to celebrate the life of an amazing woman, may you also take the time to reflect on your own lives and perhaps find ways in which you can step through the door of curiosity and take the world into your arms. May you find comfort and inspiration and beauty there. You will probably find heartache and struggle. I hope you will find healing. And most importantly, I hope you will find the courage to face death honestly, both yours and of those you love, and by doing so, acquire a greater appreciation for life. A greater appreciation for life that mirrors the enthusiasm with which Carolyn lived hers. May we all be as gently fierce as she was. May we all nurture the spirit of community, the depth of compassionate relationship that she created all around her. Let her life and love continue to inspire you as you begin the healing process of letting her go. And may you, at the end of it all, be able to say you have done enough. You have loved enough. May it be so, and amen.